not that one. This one's got some serious horsepower. In tonight's Top Gear, the Mini 1 meets its rivals. Nissan's brand new soft-roader, the X-Trail. And all the very best bits from Goodwood's Festival of Speed.
When I first saw it on the stand at the motor show, I have to say I thought it looked rather big. And when the journalists from the magazines first got their hands on it, they thought it was much bigger than the old one. Now, Jason, who recently tried one in Italy, assures me that it is actually small. But I wasn't convinced. And it's only actually when you see one for real that you realise it is small. And now with this new Mini 1, we have the basic model for a small budget. You see, all we've seen to date has been the Mini Cooper, with all the sporty extras you'd expect on it. But now they've let us get our hands on the Mini 1, the cheapest Mini you can buy at £10,300. Or at least it would be if the press department hadn't added £2,000 worth of extras, making it a £12,000 Mini. And even at 10 grand, it's hardly the people's car the original one was. But then someone has already grabbed that market with a cute little number starting at just under 7,000. Yes, it's the Ford Ka. When it was launched 5 years ago, the public wasn't ready for its looks. Sales were slow, just like they were with the original Mini back in '59. But sales have grown and grown, and now the Ka is the top seller in this market. And it's much more faithful to the original Mini than BMW's effort. A radical, cutting-edge design, and at an affordable price. Even this top-of-the-range luxury model is cheaper than the Mini 1, and it would be hard to find a small car that's better to drive. Easy to handle and fun with it, the Ka is hard to beat. So what's the Mini got that's going to tempt you to pay at least an extra £740 to leave this luxury? Well, it's got that badge for starters. And the kudos are being made by BMW. Let's face it, nowadays, image is very important. Then with 90 bhp, there's the little matter of an extra 39 horsepower, which will take you to 62, nearly 3.5 seconds quicker. And there are 4 airbags, ABS, electronic brake force distribution and corner braking control all as standard. But the best is still to come. You can now buy a 5-year or 50,000 mile service pack, including all parts and labour, for just £100. Now that's incredible. Also incredible is the interior of the car. OK, the rev counter and this silver trim are part of that extras package, but it's still got a fantastic design layout. I simply love this huge speedo. In fact, I actually find the rev counter rather detracts from the impact that speedo makes. I'd rather not have it. I also love this little row of old-fashioned toggle switches. They're brilliant. The quality is there. It feels solidly built. In fact, it feels like you're in a much bigger car. It feels like a BMW. The drive is good as well. Despite this being BMW's first ever front-wheel drive design, it corners flatter than the Ka. It has less roll in it. The steering is slightly dead in the straight ahead position, but very quick as soon as you start turning it. It's definitely got some of that old Mini feel about it. In fact, I desperately want to get out of the town and into the countryside, but that's for another day.
No white roof and no chrome grille like the Cooper, but I actually think the Mini 1 looks a classier act, although you can only get it in red, black or yellow unless you want to pay extra. And, by the way, the Mini doesn't have a spare tyre. Not a major oversight, more a cutting-edge feature. Instead, the Mini is the first car in its class to feature tyre pressure sensors to warn you if you're getting a flat.
And to get you out of trouble, it's got a Mini mobility system. Puncture repair kit to you and me.
So, if the Mini has moved away from its roots and gone upmarket, if it's left the cut to provide the basics, what must it beat in the battle for the high ground?
Well, in the posh circles where the new Mini now obviously wants to mix, labels are everything. And it'll have to beat cars like this. The Volkswagen Lupo 1.4 Sport.
It's got the style, it's got the image and the build quality, and it's £140 cheaper than the Mini. It's got more power too, so what are its weaknesses?
Well, the Lupo's interior has got a quality feel to it, but for attention to detail and flair, the Mini's got it beaten wherever you look. It's all far too conservative. And the long-armed, short-legged driving position means you won't be as comfortable as you are in the Mini, but there is a bit more room in the back.
Overall, the VW is a lot more grown up. There's none of the retro fun you get in the Mini.
As a driving experience, the Lupo handles very well, but the steering isn't as sharp as the Mini's, and the gear change decidedly sloppy.
So the Lupo loses out in almost all respects. The Mini may have left the low ground to the car, but it's had no problems moving up market.
No, if you can afford it, the Mini 1 really is excellent value for money. It's cute, it handles well, it goes well, it's well built, and it's relatively safe if you crash it. It really is this year's must-have small car.
So there are some really big names here. Jack Brabham, Sterling Moss.
Damon Hill, Nicky Lauda, Jenson Button.
Charlotte Hammond.
Everybody loves champagne, don't they? So, you know, everyone's up drinking it, gone mad for it. They're all very jolly after a couple of bottles, so it keeps everyone happy, I suppose. Today we sold about 1,500, so, you know, we're looking at doubling that by the end of the weekend, and tomorrow's a big day, so maybe 3,000.
The hill climb really doesn't mean a lot. It's an excuse to bring the people here to have a look at the cars, really. It just feels like the old days, really. The car even sounds the same as it did. It's lovely to get back and drive that car again.
You can get so close to the cars and the drivers. It's like no other place. Silverstone's good, but Goodwood is just awesome. I've got Martin Brundle, Riccardo Patrese, Mario Andretti. That is Nicky Lauda's autograph, Emerson Fittipaldi, John Surtees, mine.
Can't talk too loudly because you join us just as we're preparing for the start of the briefing for the judging. Around me there are celebrated car designers that clear from opera, in the arts world, antiques world. There are some fantastic cars out there. And the beautiful thing is, we don't actually really need to know all that much about them. We just go, yep, I like that one, or I don't like that one.
If there's a few glasses left in a bottle at the end of the night, we get to stop that. Yeah, I hope so tonight. After today, it's been a bit of a hard one.
This is Finland, and this is the all-new Nissan X-Trail. It's a soft-roader, and like all its rivals, it's only going to be driven by mums on the school run. No, that's what we always say. I'm not going there again. Hang on, there must be something else to say about it. Oh yes, Nissan have decided to use this to celebrate 50 years in the four-wheel drive game. No, too boring. Hang on a minute, we're in Finland. We've heard the rumours about the ladies, and with these carefully prepared phrases, I'm using this thing to make hay while the sun shines. Hello ladies, this is the new Nissan X-Trail. Nissan has celebrated 50 years in the off-road market. Hang on a minute. Eka boime juhlata marai hemin. Oh, fair enough. Eka boime juhlata marai hemin. Yeah? Yes. Unlike my lovely new friends from Finland, the X-Trail had a few problems with looks, and Nissan decided to stick a new nose on it before it came to Europe. Well, they've managed to make it look like a chunky four-wheel drive. We've got a Japanese off-roader. You expect quality materials, precision engineering, and an interior with all the charm and sophistication as a dose of scrumpox. But not only does the X-Trail blow all that myth into the water, it's damn near to being the most luxurious and comfortable in its class. The dashboard is neat and well finished. I love the way they've put the dials in the middle there. These drinks coolers are absolutely wicked. The seats are wide and comfortable. There's plenty of room to swing stuff, and there's a very practical, robust boot. And I haven't even mentioned equipment yet. Hang on a minute, I'm not wasting this opportunity. Hallo, I siteko nahada barostene. Yeah?
Yeah, that's good.
Brilliant. You see, Anu, this is your lucky day. You see, even the basic S version gets electric windows, electric sunroof, front airbags and remote central locking. If you go up to the sport version, you get alloy wheels, climate control and a CD player. And if you go right to the top, the SE, you get leather upholstery, heated seats and a CD changer. Come on, you're impressed. All seems to be going rather well. For the X-Trail, I mean. But these cars live and die on what they like to drive. Gone are the days when people were perfectly happy to roll around in road-going tractors. Mane on kaunis lafte, kame aye lule. Get it. There's a choice of two engines, a 138 brake horsepower 2-litre petrol and a 113 brake horsepower 2.2-litre turbo diesel. Petrol lovers note that your engine will get from 0 to 60 in around 11 seconds, and diesel fans, you can save at an average of 39 miles to the gallon. You see, ladies, there's a slight problem. Whilst the petrol engine hasn't got that much oomph, it's got a lovely 5-speed gearbox. The diesel, on the other hand, has got a decent bit of punch, but the 6-speed gearbox is a complete bum fight. I think Mr. Mika Hakkinen would have some problems too. Well, it's got the battering ram looks, and people who drive these things don't really care about performance. It's all about handling, and I'll tell you what, Nissan have played an absolute blinder. They make quality road cars, and now it's finally filtered down to their off-roaders. There's no roll through corners, doesn't wobble around, and there's none of that baggy four-wheel drive steering. It's like driving a saloon with lorry-like superiority, which is exactly what the punters want.
Efter dushme tabaman dana, il tanaya luleleman.
It's much nicer to be on the road than off it, but just in case you get into a bit of competitive, over-the-neighbour's fence banter, you'll need to make damn sure you know what your car can do. So let's get out of the way. It's got an electronic four-wheel drive system that operates via a dual... Oh yeah, you're right, it has the potential to drive all four wheels at once. Let's go back to the important things.
I can assure you, Cristiano, you're in very safe hands. Every car has ESP, brake assist, ABS, traction control, slip diff and EBD. Now do you trust me? Mananka putty in my hands.
Right, now we come to the crunch time. In order to make an impact on the very competitive soft-roader sector, it's got to be priced right to dent the sales of established brands.
Prices start at £16,800 for the entry-level S version and sell right up to 21 grand for the 2.2 SE. And this is where Nissan have got it sussed, because the full Maverick isn't as good and the Freelander is more expensive. Let's face it, all these soft-roaders blur into one, but the Nissan X-Trail has the quality to rise above the rest. It's definitely worth looking beyond the badge and the image. Hey, and let's hope you Finnish ladies are feeling the same way.
Still to come on Top Gear, it really is downhill all the way as Vicki and Tiff risk life and limb at Goodwood's legendary soapbox derby. But before that, an amazingly dynamic new diesel from Ford. Ford and Volkswagen, two great motoring superpowers that have battled with each other for decades. But which one had the edge?
It was simple, really. You looked up family car in the dictionary and it said Golf. Volkswagen dominated the territory and the Golf was the all-conquering hero, the only car that anyone ever thought of.
You can imagine how much this got on Ford's nerves. Against the mighty Golf, the Escort looked cheap, nasty and poorly built, which it was. Ford wheeled out the heavy artillery. No expense was spared. The Escort was dead. Long live the Focus. As military strategies go, Patton himself wouldn't have been able to touch it. Universally praised and better to drive than anything in its class, last year the Focus wasn't just Britain's best-selling car, it was one of the best-selling cars in the world. Even the Americans loved it. The Focus is perfect.
Except it isn't. There's an Achilles heel, a chink in its armour, which means that the opposition isn't completely vanquished.
Diesel is on the march, but the Focus diesel never has been. The Focus's diesel engine incorporates all the very worst things about diesel engines. Noisy. I said noisy. Basic, and a bit industrial, and crucially, nowhere near as good as the Volkswagen Golf. All right, can you turn that off now, please? Thanks very much. Cheers. The VW Golf GT TDI PD. As well as being a corking Scrabble score, it's a corking car. It's pretty quiet, pretty quick, fantastically torquey, and above all, helps sporty driving rather than hindering it.
But now Ford are fighting back with this, the TGCC. In fact, they're so confident about this car's abilities that they've shipped this one over from Germany especially. So, for me to test this car, Ford is making me sit on the wrong side and appear German to other road users. Talk about pushing your luck. It still sounds like a diesel to me. A quiet diesel, but a diesel nevertheless. Now Ford are getting very excited because this 1.8 TGCC is a second generation common rail diesel, which means this.
Traditionally, diesel engines had no finesse at all and drank their fuel like this. Then, after years of putting up with clattering noises and smoky exhausts, common rail diesels were introduced, like the one in our Golf, which deliver the derv in a far more measured, high-pressure style. And now Ford have moved things on again. Their new engine's watchword is precision.
It's cutting-edge diesel technology and the product of Ford's Centre for Diesel Excellence, which is based in, would you believe, Dagenham. So that's a product of Essex that proclaims itself to be refined, sophisticated, desirable. Oh, you write the punchline. But be warned, my wife is from Essex.
Actually, it is refined, sophisticated and desirable, just like the missus. It drives really smoothly, pulls strongly and does a convincing impression of a petrol car. Even more so if you look at the performance figures. The 0 to 62 time of 10.8 seconds and the top speed of 120 miles per hour are almost exactly the same as the petrol equivalent. Except you get the benefit of another 15 miles per gallon. It'll average 51.4 mpg.
This un-diesel-like driving experience is due to a couple of neat little party tricks. The first of which is that the engine actually listens to itself. If any unwanted vibrations are detected, computers will alter the fueling to calm things down again and keep everything serene.
And it works. On motorway cruises where diesels are guaranteed to shake, rattle and roll because of the high revs, it's actually the wind and tires that make the most racket.
The second trick is something called transient overboost. No, I haven't got a clue what it means. It sounds more like a Pink Floyd album, but I suspect that it works a bit like an afterburner. And it doesn't half give you a second wind when you're overtaking.
So the new diesel is good, but is it good enough to buy?
Well, it's certainly better than the Golf, so we can deal with that quickly enough. Well done, Ford. And about time too.
So if the Focus TDCI is plainly the best car in its class, then that means its only competitors are other models in the Focus range.
Ford reckon the TDCI will cost about £15,000 when it goes on sale in the UK. And for that sort of money, you could have a 2-litre Focus Gear, which is more thirsty, admittedly, but it's also much faster. Or this, the petrol-engined 1.6 Z-Tech, which performs similarly to the TDCI. Okay, so it delivers 10 miles per gallon less on average than the diesel, but it also costs £3,500 less to buy in the first place. This is getting very tricky. If you're absolutely committed to buying diesel, and it seems that more and more of you are, then you really can't do much better than this. But if you're committed to buying logically, well then you can do better. And you don't need to be Albert Einstein to work that out.
You know, Vic's gravity's a wonderful thing. A truly renewable source of energy. Fumeless, noiseless, free.
If only we could get some car boffins to build us a friction-free car, an army of volunteers to lug the thing around, and, oh yeah, a great big hill to drive it down.
I'm gonna tell you about the car that I just bought. Yeah. Good that Dodge Mansion there in the parking lot. Well,
Funny you should say that.
Gravity racing is the slightly less embarrassing way of describing what is essentially a bunch of grown-ups in soapbox carts. At one time, though, it was quite a big deal. The All-American Derby, which started in the 30s, had 1.5 million followers. In this country, the National Soapbox Association had championships up until 1994, and last year they made a comeback at Goodwood.
Well, we just thought it'd be fun to come down the hill rather than go up it, and we loved the idea of this gravity racing, and thought it'd be a great challenge to set the regulations, set the cost limits, and see what people will come up with, because there can't be great things.
But soapbox racing at the Goodwood Festival of Speed with our reputation.
What were they thinking of?
For our foray into no-powered racing, I've got the mighty Ford Motor Company behind me. My Centennial Flyer was designed by racing engineer Pip Hyam and a team from the Royal College of Art's Motorcar Design course. Impressive, eh?
Meantime, my little beast has been built by Ian Hoskin from Honda. Ian works for Honda's PR department and fancied having a go at building a racing car. Perhaps next time he'll give me an engine. Now, although there are some big names from the world of racing here, the great thing about the Soapbox Challenge is that you can't buy your way to the top. Each team is limited to a budget of £1,000, and a log of what's been spent has to be submitted to, wait for it, the gravity accountant. Then the machines are weighed with pilot and the dimensions checked using what else but a soapbox.
And you thought this was kids' stuff.
So, no push starts, no wheel tweaks, no prisoners.
Mickey, it hasn't got a throttle, no good bouncing your foot up and down.
I need to make sure it's got a brake.
Oh, I've got the handbrake stuck on.
All right, so hardly a flying start for me. Well, either of us, really. But come the first bend and we're already up to 40 miles an hour.
Oh, that centennial flyer is flying away.
Come on, go.
Wait in the roof.
Back in slipstream, Tiff.
There was practically nothing in it.
We finished the first heat with a reasonable amount of dignity and a half-decent time. On day 2, though, things had to improve dramatically if we were to beat the AVD team and their recliner, the Wind Cheater. Tiff's team, however, had weighty matters of their own to deal with.
The issue that has been raised is whether he had a good meal last night or whether he was on starvation rations. And if he was on starvation rations, then we're fine, but if not, we may have to conduct a little bit of surgery, and to that end I've got the hacksaw ready to cut a couple of extraneous bits off the suspension.
135 kilograms for driver and cart is the maximum weight allowed, and the flyer was right on the limit. Looks as though Tiff helped himself to plenty of pop at last night's ball, but was he tempted by the pud?
The organisation tries to write a clear and unambiguous set of rules, and the job of the competitors is to try and find some ambiguity there. Inevitably, people are there to outwit us, and my job is to outwit those who are trying to outwit us.
With the crowds allowed right to the edge of the track for the downhill races, the second and decisive heats got underway.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Run. Going faster miles an hour.
I'd beaten Vix once, but could I do it again? She may be quick off the mark, but the hazardous corners lay ahead. The low-lying Wind Cheater and the B&W Reg Parsons project set the pace again. But this was the battle that mattered most. With minimum resistance, the steering can be hypersensitive. A little twitch can become a major moment. The G4 Streamline Special clashed with the Vistian Velocity and broke its wheel cover. The corners were now over. It was the long run to the finish. Could I maintain the momentum? It began to feel like I could walk faster. But inch by inch, I edged towards safety.
Come on.
And victory for the Centennial Flyer.
But we were only 9th and 11th overall out of 16 runners.
Yes, but surely it's the taking part that counts.
Next week on Top Gear, Z-Cars is back. At last, we get to drive the new breed of MGs. Making a star of TDR, on set with Travolta and a Tuscan. And have you got a yen for a used Japanese car? We'll help you choose.